Discipline always comes before motivation because motivation is a feeling and feelings change. Some mornings you wake up hungry, some mornings you wake up tired, some mornings the world feels heavy on your chest. If you wait to feel inspired, you already lost the day. Discipline is what gets you out of bed when your mind is still arguing. It's the structure you build so your life doesn't depend on mood swings. Real progress is quiet, repetitive, and sometimes boring, but it's honest. Discipline is choosing the plan even when nobody is clapping for you. A lot of people love the idea of success, but they don't love the process that comes with it. They want the reward without the routine. They want the results without the repetition. But discipline is falling in love with the daily work. It's showing up when it's cold, when it's uncomfortable, when it's lonely. Motivation might get you started, but discipline is what keeps you moving when motivation disappears for weeks at a time. You have to understand something. Discipline is self-respect in action. It's saying, I don't need to feel good to do what needs to be done. It's holding yourself accountable when nobody else is watching. When you keep promises to yourself, your confidence grows. Not because you talk about it, but because you prove it to yourself every day. That proof stacks. That's how belief is built. Most people quit because they confuse difficulty with failure. They feel resistance and think it's a sign to stop. But resistance is confirmation that you're doing something that matters. Discipline teaches you how to stay calm inside the pressure. It teaches you how to move forward without complaining. You don't need to rush. You just need to be consistent. Slow motion is better than no motion. Motivation is loud. Discipline is silent. Motivation posts quotes. Discipline sets alarms. Motivation talks about dreams. Discipline writes schedules. One looks good on the outside. The other builds results on the inside. If you really want to change your life, stop asking how to feel motivated and start asking how to build better habits. Habits don't argue. Habits just execute. Discipline also protects you. It protects you from distractions, from emotional decisions, from people who don't understand your vision. When you're disciplined, you don't explain yourself much. Your actions speak. You move with clarity. You don't chase every opportunity. You stay locked into your lane. That focus creates momentum, and momentum creates confidence. There will be days when nobody believes in you, days when progress feels invisible, days when it feels like you're doing everything right and still getting nothing back. Discipline is what keeps you grounded during those days. It reminds you that results are delayed, not denied. The work you're putting in today is preparing you for a moment you haven't reached yet. You don't need external validation to stay disciplined. Applause is temporary. Discipline is internal. It's between you and your goals. When you train yourself to show up daily, you stop needing motivation from outside sources. You become self-powered. That's real independence. Discipline also teaches patience. It reminds you that mastery takes time. You can't rush growth. You can't skip seasons. Every phase has a lesson, and discipline is what keeps you present long enough to learn it. People who last aren't the most talented. They're the most consistent. At some point, discipline becomes identity. You don't force it anymore. It's just who you are. You move with intention. You protect your time. You choose progress over comfort without thinking twice. That's when life starts responding differently to you. So don't wait to feel ready. Don't wait for the perfect moment. Start where you are, with what you have, and commit to the routine. Motivation will come and go, but discipline will always be there if you build it. And once discipline is solid, success stops being a question of if and becomes a matter of when. Long-term vision always has to sit above short-term emotion because emotions change with the weather. One bad conversation, one slow day, one unexpected setback can pull your feelings in a different direction. If you let those moments decide your moves, your life stays unstable. Vision is different. Vision doesn't panic. Vision sees past today's frustration and tomorrow's doubt. Vision understands that what you're building won't always feel good while it's being built. A lot of people make permanent decisions based on temporary emotions. They quit when they're tired, react when they're angry, and celebrate too early when things go right. But when you're serious about growth, you learn to pause. You learn to ask yourself, does this reaction serve where I'm trying to go? Long-term thinkers don't move off impulse. They move off alignment. When you carry a real vision, you stop needing to win every moment. You don't need to respond to every comment, explain every move, or prove yourself daily. Some days you take losses quietly because you understand the bigger picture. Short-term emotion wants relief right now. Long-term vision wants freedom later. One is loud and impatient. The other is calm and strategic. Emotions tell you to react. Vision tells you to respond. That difference changes everything. Reaction is uncontrolled energy. Response is measured power. When you respond, you choose timing. You choose silence when silence is stronger. You choose patience when ego wants noise. You choose growth over validation. The long road demands emotional discipline. There will be days when progress feels invisible and days when temptation looks attractive. Shortcuts will call your name. Comfort will look reasonable. But vision reminds you why you started. It keeps you loyal to the plan when distractions try to negotiate with you. Not every opportunity is meant for you. Not every battle deserves your energy. People who think short short-term chase feelings. People who think long-term build systems. They don't rely on moods, they rely on habits. They don't ask, how do I feel today? They ask, what needs to be done? That mindset separates those who flash for a moment from those who last for decades. Long-term vision also teaches humility. You understand you're still in process. You don't rush your arrival. You don't fake progress. You're willing to be misunderstood now because you know clarity will come later. You don't need to look successful today if you're actually becoming successful over time. Short-term emotion wants comfort, praise, and immediate reward. Vision is willing to be uncomfortable, quiet, and patient. Vision understands that pressure is part of preparation. Every delay is teaching you something. Every setback is shaping your character. Nothing is wasted when you stay committed to the direction. When emotions run high, vision brings you back to center. It reminds you that one bad day doesn't cancel the work you've done. One win doesn't mean you've arrived either. You stay balanced. You don't get too high or too low. Consistency lives in the middle. Vision also protects your relationships. You stop burning bridges over momentary feelings. You stop reacting from pride. You learn when to walk away to speak and when to let time handle it. Emotional intelligence grows when you stop letting feelings drive the wheel. The long game requires faith in delayed results. You might plant seeds today and not see growth for months or years. Short-term emotion will tell you it's not working. Vision will tell you to keep watering. That patience compounds. Eventually, people see the outcome and call it luck, never realizing how many emotional battles you won privately to get there. At a certain point, vision becomes your anchor. No matter what happens around you, you stay grounded. You know where you're going, so detours don't scare you. You move with intention, not impulse. And that's when life starts to open up, not because you reacted perfectly, but because you stayed loyal to the bigger picture. Self-respect isn't something you turn on when it's convenient. It's not a mood. It's not a reaction to how people treat you. It's a standard you carry every single day, especially when nobody's watching. The way you move when it would be easy to fold, that's where self-respect lives. It's a daily decision to honor yourself even when the world doesn't offer applause. A lot of people confuse self-respect with ego. Ego wants to be seen. Self-respect wants to be solid. Ego reacts loud. Self-respect stays composed. When you respect yourself, you don't need to argue your value. You don't chase approval. You don't explain your boundaries more than once. Your actions already say enough. Self-respect shows up in what you tolerate, the conversations you allow, the habits you repeat, the promises you keep to yourself. Every time you break your own word, you chip away at your foundation. Every time you follow through, you reinforce it. That's why discipline and self-respect are connected. One feeds the other. When self-respect is a non-negotiable, you stop bending just to fit in. You'd rather stand alone than sit somewhere you're not honored. You don't beg for access. You don't shrink to make others comfortable. You understand that losing yourself to keep people around is the real loss. There will be moments when choosing self-respect costs you. It might cost you attention, opportunities, or relationships, but what it gives you back is peace, clarity, and strength. And those are assets that compound. People who move with self-respect don't move fast, but they move far. Self-respect also means knowing when to stay silent. Not every insult deserves a response. Not every challenge needs your energy. Silence isn't weakness when it's intentional. Sometimes the strongest move is to keep building while others keep talking. Let results handle the conversations you don't need to have. Daily self-respect is how you talk to yourself when things aren't going right. Do you tear yourself down, or do you hold yourself accountable without disrespect? There's a difference between being honest with yourself and being cruel to yourself. Growth comes from truth, not self-hate. When you respect yourself, you correct your mistakes without destroying your confidence. It's also about patience. You don't rush your progress just to prove something. You don't fake wins to impress people who don't know the work. You're comfortable being in process because you know what you're building has depth. Self-respect understands timing. It doesn't panic. When self-respect becomes a daily practice, your standards rise naturally. You eat better. You think clearer. You choose your circle more carefully. You stop wasting time on things that drain you, not because someone told you to, but because you value your energy. People might not like your boundaries. They might call you distant, cold, or changed. But the truth is, you just stopped overextending yourself. You stopped explaining yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you. Self-respect doesn't need to be liked. It needs to be lived. The strongest form of self-respect is consistency. Being the same person in private that you are in public. Doing the right thing even when nobody benefits but you. That integrity builds a quiet confidence. You walk different when you know you're solid inside. Every morning is a chance to practice self-respect again. To choose progress over excuses. To choose composure over chaos. To choose standards over shortcuts. You don't wait for someone else to treat you right. You start by treating yourself right. And when self-respect is non-negotiable, everything else aligns. Your work gets sharper. Your vision gets clearer. Your presence gets stronger. You don't have to announce it. People feel it. Because when you respect yourself daily, life eventually follows your lead. Progress doesn't come from luck. Luck is unpredictable, temporary, and unreliable. Consistency is deliberate, it's earned, it's something you control. People love to talk about being at the right place at the right time, but they don't talk enough about being prepared when that time arrives. What looks like luck from the outside is usually years of showing up when it would have been easier to disappear. Consistency is unglamorous. It doesn't trend. It doesn't go viral. It's the same work, the same focus, the same standards repeated day after day. Most people get bored before they get better. They want instant results, quick recognition, fast rewards. But real progress doesn't move on your timeline. It moves on the timeline of effort. Every day you show up, even when the results are small, you're building something solid. You're stacking proof. You're telling yourself, I can be trusted. That trust becomes confidence. Not loud confidence, not talkative confidence, but grounded confidence. The kind that doesn't need validation because it's backed by work. Luck can open a door, but consistency is what keeps it open. Without consistency, opportunity becomes pressure. You fall because you're not ready. But when you've put the time in, pressure turns into performance. You don't panic, you execute. You've been training for that moment long before it arrived. People who rely on luck stay emotional. When things go right, they celebrate early. When things go wrong, they collapse. Consistent people stay steady. They don't get too high or too low. They understand that one day doesn't define the journey. Progress is measured over months and years, not moods. Consistency also sharpens your identity. You stop asking who you are and start proving it. Your habits speak for you. Your routine becomes your reputation. You don't need to explain your dedication. Your results explain it for you. Quiet repetition turns into visible growth. There are days when consistency feels pointless. Days when you do the work and see nothing change. That's the test. That's where most people quit. They mistake silence for failure. But consistency works underground before it shows above the surface. Roots grow before trees do. Luck gives people shortcuts. Consistency gives people endurance. Endurance is what lets you survive setbacks, losses, and slow seasons. Anyone can look confident when things are going right. The real strength shows when you stay committed while things are unclear. Consistency also protects your mindset. It keeps you focused on the process instead of obsessing over outcomes. You stop checking the scoreboard every day. You trust the work. That patience saves energy and keeps you mentally sharp. Obsession with results creates anxiety. Commitment to consistency creates peace. You don't need perfect conditions to be consistent. You just need standards. Some days your best will be lower than other days, and that's okay. Consistency isn't about perfection. It's about persistence. It's about doing what you can every day without breaking the chain. People will call you lucky when the results finally show. They won't see the mornings you work tired, the nights you stay disciplined, the opportunities you turn down to stay focused. They won't see the repetition. And you don't need them to. You know it took. At some point, consistency compounds. Effort starts working in your favor. What used to feel heavy starts feeling natural. Momentum builds. And suddenly people think it happened overnight. But overnight success is just consistency that stayed quiet for a long time. So don't wait on luck to change your life. Build habits that don't depend on chance. Show up when it's uncomfortable. Stay disciplined when it's boring. Keep going when it's slow. Progress will come, not because you got lucky, but because you stayed consistent long enough for the work to speak. Silence isn't empty. Silence is loaded. It's where focus sharpens and where accountability gets real. In a loud world, staying quiet is a power move. Not because you don't have something to say, but because you're too busy building to explain yourself. Noise distracts, opinions confuse. Silence clears the path so you can see exactly what needs to be done. When you move in silence, you stop performing for the crowd. You stop chasing reactions and start chasing results. Focus becomes easier when you're not broadcasting every step. You protect your plans before they're strong enough to stand on their own. Not everyone needs access to your process. Some people only show up to comment, not contribute. Focus is a form of respect. Respect for your time. Respect for your goals. Respect for the future you're trying to create. Every time you let distractions pull you away, you're telling yourself your vision is negotiable. Focus means choosing one direction and committing to it long enough to see progress. It means saying no to good opportunities so you can say yes to the right one. Silence helps you hear yourself. When everything around you is loud, your inner voice gets drowned out. That inner voice is the one that knows when you're cutting corners, when you're procrastinating, and when you're not being honest with yourself. Inner accountability doesn't need witnesses. It doesn't need applause. It's the private agreement you make with yourself to hold the standard even when nobody's checking. A lot of people look disciplined in public and sloppy in private. Inner accountability flips that. You become harder on yourself than anyone else ever could be. Not in a toxic way, but in a truthful way. You don't let yourself slide just because nobody's watching. You correct yourself quietly and keep moving. Silence also keeps you from reacting emotionally. When something triggers you, the loud response is usually the weak one. Silence gives you space to think, to decide whether something deserves your energy or not. Most battles are worth fighting. Most arguments don't change outcomes. Focused people choose progress over pride. When you stay focused, you stop wasting energy proving things. You understand that consistency is louder than explanation. You don't announce goals, you complete them. You don't argue with doubt, you outwork it. Silence becomes a shield that protects your momentum. Inner accountability means owning your results without excuses. If something isn't working, you don't blame people's circumstances or timing. You adjust, you learn, you tighten the plan. You don't lie to yourself to feel better. You tell yourself the truth so you can get better. Focus also simplifies life. Too many options create confusion. When you commit to one path, decisions get easier. You know what aligns and what doesn't. You stop feeling busy and start feeling productive. Movement becomes intentional instead of scattered. Silence doesn't mean isolation, it means selectiveness. You choose who gets access to your thoughts and energy. You keep your circle tight because focus requires protection. Everybody doesn't deserve your explanation, your plans, or your vulnerability. There will be times when people misunderstand your silence. They'll think you fell off, got distant, or lost interest. But silence isn't absence, it's preparation. While they're talking, you're working. While they're speculating, you're executing. Inner accountability keeps you grounded when progress starts showing. You don't get arrogant, you don't relax too early. You stay locked in because you know how easy it is to slip when discipline fades. Success doesn't remove the need for accountability, it increases it. At the end of the day, silence, focus, and inner accountability work together. Silence removes distraction. Focus directs energy. Accountability ensures execution. That combination builds real power. Not the kind that needs attention, but the kind that lasts. When you master that, your presence changes. You move with intention. You speak less and mean more. You don't need to convince anyone of who you are. Your work introduces you, and by the time people notice, the foundation is already too solid to shake.